Hey everybody, this is Jonathan Kirsting with the Pittsburgh Technology Council, Tech Vibe Radio, and of course, One Mic Stand. Our conversations continue because we have the best and the brightest members of the Pittsburgh Tech Council that are just kicking butt despite the pandemic, and just have some great advice, great technologies that are really helping everybody get through all of this. And I'm really excited to be talking to the AEC Group today, longtime Tech Council member, super great folks here as far as that goes. Talking to Brian Lesniakowski and Sean Troy today. Guys, thanks for taking the time. I know everyone's schedules have been crazy and nuts, but it's really cool of you guys to carve out 20 minutes and talk about what AEC Group is up to and really how you're helping your clients through all of this, making sure their technology is up and running 24/7, because we are all so dependent on our tech when we are at home. So guys, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us.
So Brian, let's start with you. What's your background and what do you do at AEC Group?
I'm the CIO and one of the founders, actually, of the technology end of AEC. So I've been with the organization since 1998. Helped to develop the original model, which was a solutions integrator, and it's kind of evolved from there to be cloud service provider, solutions integrator, the same thing that's happened kind of across the entire industry.
Absolutely. Very, very cool. And Sean, your background.
Yeah, so I've been with AEC Group for 12 years. I'm one of the VPs within the organization. My background came through collaboration, really, from voice and video services, networking, and wireless LAN security. So that's my background.
Wow. So the pressure's on for you right now, man. Absolutely. Absolutely. Very cool. I love seeing you guys have been there so long too. It goes to show you AEC's got to be a great place to be because you guys can do whatever you want, but you're hanging out there, which I think is pretty awesome.
Yeah, it is. It's a family-like culture. I think a lot of companies say that. I think we achieve it. We've been awarded top workplaces in Pittsburgh. I don't even know how many times in a row now. It's over 9, I think, which leads us to believe that maybe we're too nice.
You can never be too nice. No.
Yeah, it is a great place to be. Great place to work.
And Brian, so give our listeners and our viewers here just a quick little overview of AEC. You guys do lots of different things as far as that goes. Give us a quick little tour what AEC is all about, and we'll jump into our conversation today. Yeah,
I think we're, like I stated, we're a solutions integrator. So that model allows us to adopt emerging technologies.
Yeah.
Try and get ourselves up to speed on them, and then provide an unbiased asset, strategic advisory service, essentially, to our customers. So,
gotcha.
We're not really a transactional business so much where we are just looking to push products at a discount. We're really looking to build a relationship, understand how the business works from our customer's perspective, and then align that business objective list with IT solutions.
Absolutely.
And try and empower IT so that they can be more focused on the business's needs versus keeping the lights on, the infrastructure, the communications links, application rollouts, things like that. So. That's evolved over the years, obviously. A lot used to be heavy on equipment and materials that we used to have to dump into data centers. That's now become much more hybridized with the cloud, in that we expect that to continue. But it doesn't really change the fact that we're still providing a strategic value to our customers and providing them kind of a roadmap and some guidance.
With technology being as important as it is towards businesses acting on their mission, I feel like AEC Group is like the fifth Beatle of a lot of companies, right? You're behind the scenes there, making sure they got the tools to act upon the things they got to do in order to make money and innovate and everything like that. And so when Sean was talking about he leads up all the collaboration there. I mean, in this COVID time right now, I mean, collaboration is what it's all about. As we all know, we're all on these Zoom calls and everyone's dialing up to their VPNs and everything. I'm sure that AEC Group, for the longest time, you've been telling all of your clients that, like, you got to have a collaboration wing to what you're doing. You got to have a virtual arm to it. Can you tell us more about that, Sean?
Yeah, that's a great lead into that. So a lot of the dialogue that we have with our customers is really about securely bringing their collaboration tools to their end users, right? Whether it's on-prem or whether it's work remote. a lot of that is done by keeping their assets up to date. So we take a strategic approach in making sure that we're out in front of our customers and taking advantage of a lot of the technologies that they have in front of them. A lot of technology manufacturers require some mandatory attach of support. That support element typically comes with the ability to upgrade that technology. So it's our job as an integrator to make sure that our clients are up to date with the technologies that they can roll out. And what's happened in response to the pandemic specifically is that we've enabled a lot of our customers to be able to react just based on their technology being up to date, whether that's, to your point, right, across a VPN, some other secure access methodology, or even from a cloud perspective. And that has enabled us to the speed in which we can respond to our customers' needs when they're contacting our organization to then enable their business to access their technology securely and remote, and provide collaboration tools for internal communications as well as context to their customers, right? So a lot of the collaboration tools also have to have some interdependencies on how you would handle it, look at it from a contact center perspective. So we've had a lot of our customers migrate a lot of their workforce home, but still be able to manage their collaboration interactions with their customers from the contact center need. And it's been easy for us to perform that because we've allowed or we've set them up for a roadmap through a dialogue, through making sure, again, we're keeping them up to date, but also being in front of them and making sure that they understand that we can blend collaboration, whether it's a premise-based solution, cloud-based, or a blend of both, right? Bringing that to their end users, and then ultimately to their clients.
Absolutely. I mean, I know just from at the Tech Council, I work with so many of our member companies, and so many folks, unfortunately, including us in many ways, we were just, people were struggling for a couple of weeks to really get that seamless integration at home to be able to get your files and be able to communicate and still, run your business moving forward. And it seems like, I mean, obviously the way AEC Group works, you guys are just, you're not letting your clients slip at all as far as that is. And so they were able to really not have that much of a gap between move to this new virtual work world, which we're so enjoying right now.
Jonathan, something I'd add to that is that
absolutely.
For years we spoke to customers about DR and business continuity readiness.
Yeah.
I think most customers would like to think they have a DR strategy in place. Probably many of them are inadequate.
I would agree.
Probably been exposed quite a bit through this process, but one of the key points we used to hit on with them when we go through the planning is when we would identify critical systems for them, say the tier 0, these must be recovered with an RPO of under a minute or under an hour or whatever it is. We would go through all of the items, and everything that they were focused on were the things you would expect them to be focused on. Their SAP instance, Oracle, whatever. But we would always bring up, what if you can't access the building? How do your users work? That has to be an essential part of your DR and business continuity strategy. And I think those customers that encompass that into those developed plans have transitioned relatively well during this window. I think those that didn't have been scrambling to find a method for providing office-like access to users that maybe didn't traditionally work remotely.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I have this really distinct feeling that the demand for your services around that it's going to be skyrocketing as we all start kind of moving forward. So I think, as you said before, this is really showing people where there's been holes in their plans or they've had huge gaps. And so now they know they need to address them. What have been some of the common things that your customers are coming back to you with right now? What have some of their key needs been as this has changed? Is it business as usual for them, or they now have more and new heightened needs?
I think elasticity on cloud delivered services has helped cover up some of their gaps. So, for instance, WebEx or Zoom, or, those are probably things that maybe some people didn't use more than a handful of times a year. And now maybe they're using them every day. And if you're dialing into a WebEx, number, you're probably hitting busy signals right now, which over the last several years, I don't know if I had 2. You'll get 18 of them in a row trying to get on a call.
Exactly.
So they face challenges along with that. I think bandwidth issues coming into hosted items within their data center may get exposed if they're not delivered in a manner that can be can support maybe a 10-fold increase of the customer traffic, which is really their end users. So they've seen challenges with those things. Security is another area that they're focused on right now, trying to figure out, you bring in a lot of BYO devices into play, and depending on how they're communicating to the home office, that could introduce some security challenges that they're going to have to address.
Yeah.
And then I think supply chain is also something else that's being hit quite a bit. That from a CIO, from a procurement standpoint, just because you want it doesn't mean you can get it. We're disrupted from a supply chain standpoint over in the Asian areas pretty badly, where either they don't have workforce working on them, or they can't ship product.
Right.
Things are getting backlogged in that area. Everybody's working through them. I think there's been some things imposed on CIOs nowadays, and probably business leaders. As we start to go back to work, there's going to be challenges associated with, do you have a process? Do you have equipment? Do you have something that can allow you to do, say, fever testing, for instance, when people come into the facility? Is that a function of IT?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And in most instances, that's probably going to be dropped onto the IT guys and say, hey, get this up and working. And maybe that's not a skill set that they have expertise in. So
right.
Those are all areas we're paying close attention to, both during this and as we start to transition back, hopefully, into more of a normal world here in the next
normal world. I don't know about that. I'm hoping that's for dang sure. Absolutely. Can we step back a little bit and talk more about the security side of things? I mean, that just, I know is a big vulnerability right now. Well, give us more details on maybe some best practices or some vulnerabilities that you're seeing, so if anyone's watching this can kind of be aware.
Well, I think it depends on what you're trying to protect. I mean, we're an app-centric world nowadays. I mean, everybody, including it's going to get worse as the millennials continue to enter the workforce. They don't think in terms of operating systems. They think in terms of apps. So how are you providing them access to that? Are you providing them access as it's delivered kind of as a, Xfinity, Fios type, hey, it's your TV screen and you just see the content, and once that TV screen's gone, the content's gone, akin to a Citrix or a Horizon or a Windows Virtual Desktop model? Are they SaaS delivered applications where the data's already been sitting on cloud, like an Office 365? How are you, if there's data that has to be pulled out of the office to be worked on over, say, a multi-user VPN, how are you securing that? Are you protecting against data exfiltration? Is it something where you're pushing, maybe PCI information out because people have to work on it, when before you never had that it never had to leave the facility, or HIPAA related information? So, those are all areas, when you talk through the regulatory and the compliance functions, that you would hope the business has already addressed, but chances are that they didn't address them for the pandemic use case. And I think, extending that out to those end user desktops and those end user workspaces is probably a common challenge across most industries.
I believe it. Absolutely. So Sean, just curious, what would you say are some of the better collaboration tools people should be considering right now? I mean, we all know about the Zooms and stuff like that of the world. Anything particular that you tend to recommend or say is a good solution for folks these days? And I guess a lot of it can be dependent upon size of your organization and levels of security and so forth, but anything sticking out from that?
Yeah. So I think there's a plethora of offerings out there, right? I think really looking at what you could take to market. I'll use Cisco as the example. The product has capabilities across many different facets of an organization. So premise-based, cloud-based, remote workforce, collaboration tools, WebEx, right? WebEx enablement with video conferencing. Secured conferencing is a big component of that. So again, WebEx as a tool is really an enablement tool for a business to take advantage of collaboration and do it in a secure methodology where you're creating a visual discussion point, just like we are today with this Zoom, but the ability to also share content, share rich content, whiteboarding sessions is a huge component of that. Some of the things that are available from Cisco are not only from the desktop application perspective or even the handset. You can get different video devices that can be enabled for the user, and we can ship those out pretty easily. So they have different sized applications that can be shipped to an individual, to a remote office if necessary. Pretty easy setup. And again, they could be set up through traditional methodologies, with whether it be across a WAN, a point-to-point VPN, or even now go into a cloud segmentation, so you can actually bring it through in cloud utilizing WebEx and securely bringing that in. So it's a much easier path to deployment. It makes the strategy and the ability to use Brian's word, elasticity across this much easier, because we can expand the portfolio to a lot of users quickly. So there is the ability for the clients to be able to load the clients on their desktop applications much easier. It's easier on BYOD, specifically if you're looking at Android and iOS, to download the applications and provide a secure channel and methodology through those type of applications. So yeah, it's definitely, there's, you know, and it's also about having a real conversation with the customer and building a solution dependent on their needs.
Because everyone's needs are very different. And that's why I know AEC really stands out, because like I said, you're not just selling one off the shelf thing for anybody. You're really looking at what the business needs are. And based on that, you're putting together a bunch of things and knitting them together for a customized solution for sure.
Yeah.
And that's why I always tell people, like, I mean, some people are always like thinking like, am I too small, too big? Is there a sweet spot for customer size that you tend to work with? Because I really encourage our members to really work with our other members and say, no, talk to these folks. Everyone will talk to you for an hour and look at your needs and usually say, hey, I can help you, I can't help you, or this other place can't help you.
Yeah, I think if you asked our account executives and our sales management team, most of our customers, just because of the nature of our demographics from a business standpoint, fall into kind of that mid enterprise space.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean we work with companies that have 10 people, and we work with the largest employer in Western Pennsylvania, and we work with the state. So
gotcha.
There is no sweet spot for solutions. I think the solutions are applicable across the board. How they leverage them is probably a bit different.
Definitely.
Maybe some of their compliance requirements may be a bit different. Certainly their rollout schedules change, and how they fund things are different. But you know, everybody has a common set of challenges. If you hit on a question before about something that might be a collaborative tool that is gaining in popularity that maybe people haven't leveraged before. I think everybody's familiar with WebEx. Most people probably know about Zoom at this point. How many people are actually using Teams? You know, Microsoft Teams at this point. Are they taking advantage of these cloud-borne services? You know, they may have 365 licensing from Microsoft. That's pretty common across the spectrum. But have they extended it out to encompass true collaboration spaces where they have, you know, access to files, access to whiteboards, access to the same things you would have if you were sitting in a conventional office environment?
Makes total sense. So I'm starting to believe that as we get back to normal, that more folks will actually still be working from home, because now we've kind of proven that like the technologies are there. They are actually working really, really well. It's giving people more of an excuse to say, hey, some people can continue to work remotely, or it becomes something where people can do it more often. I know at the Tech Council, it was always like, you know, if you work from home, you kind of work from home, you get on your cell phone and jump on. But now we're realizing that through Teams and through Zoom, like, I can literally do my job at home right now.
Yeah, I actually have a little bit of unusual insight into that. My wife is a real estate agent, and she follows all the trends from the real estate market. And something that their expectation is, and their forecast is, that commercial real estate is going to suffer coming out of the pandemic. And part of that's going to be because people are going to say, you know, the cost per cubicle that we've been paying workspace for a user may not be essential for all of these users. So there may be some right sizing that takes place that downsizes some of the lease space. And but I think that remains to be seen. I mean, we're kind of a lot of people are taking guesses at some things without, you know, a month ago we thought there were going to be 2.2 million deaths. So I don't really know that anybody has a real clear picture of what it's going to look like in June or July.
It is so hard to predict. It's like, yeah, I mean, thank God, like we're seeing these crazy figures, and it's like, I'm realizing, okay, I'm not going to hit that, thank goodness. And so it is hard to predict and everything like that. So I'm just curious, anything else we haven't covered that people should know about AEC, or any trends that you guys are thinking about before we wrap this thing up?
I'll let you jump on that first, Sean.
Yeah. So to your question about what does it look like coming out of this and how are people going to work from home, I think that's one of the areas that I see a broad change. One of the things that have happened across this is people actually do see that there's a level of accountability and measurability for what the productivity day looks like. So as Brian mentioned, Teams as a tool, right? Instant messaging, present status is a big indicator, right? So I'm working from home, I'm on my IM, you can see my presence, real time in my calendar, you can see my availability, you can look at what I'm doing. It's a measurable and quantifiable. And I think a lot of what people had fears of is people working from home and kind of hide behind that technology and not having visibility. I think that just from brute force of this happening, we're getting much more raw data and the ability to track that and seeing that people are more productive. I see a lot more customers saying that they're, you know, instead of their day being, I woke up at 5 or 6 and I drove to the office and losing an hour each way, they're using that as productivity time throughout the day. And it's actually becoming one of the things that, again, just to circle back, I think there's going to be a lot more people who say to businesses, it does look like we can work from home. I think we should look at this as something that's a benefit to all parties, right? It benefits the business, it benefits the employee, it even benefits the customers. I think you will see a lot more companies willing to allow their employees to work from home, where maybe they didn't even have a day a week. You might see it 2-day or 3-day. It might not be full time, but it's definitely a reaction to this. I do see that. What's nice to know is that a lot of the collaboration tools and the things that we've talked about, the productivity suite, does give you access to measurable and accountable data to allow you to know that your workforce is still performing up to the KPIs that you might have in place.
Definitely, very much.
I would add to that, Jonathan, the one thing I kind of expect to come out of the backside of this is that the pandemic really is going to be a catalyst for change, and behavioral change in particular. And what I mean by that is that you have a lot of people that have had the ability to use the tools that we're using during this pandemic for a long time, and they haven't leveraged them. I mean, so customer calls, vendor calls, business-to-business communications are typically done over a traditional phone conference. That's the way we've always done it. Throw your Polycom in the middle of the table, everybody sits around the conference table, and nobody sees each other. Some organizations have adopted and had in the past adopted, the rich video and video conferencing communications capabilities. But now I think that's going to be something where people are going to go back into the office with a familiarity of those tools and a more willingness to use them. And maybe leveraging the ability to run applications remotely. And then looking at it from the business side and the CIO's side, if they've had to leverage the cloud for elasticity, as I said before, and scalability to support their user base during this window when they couldn't necessarily scale out their own data center or didn't want to, it probably is building for them a comfort level with some of those tools. I anticipate that that's not going to go away. They'll build on that when we come out of the other side, and hopefully they position themselves to leverage that in the long term.
Absolutely. Yeah, good stuff. Awesome insight, guys. I really appreciate this. I know time is short for you guys, so I'll let you guys go. But seriously, I encourage everybody, learn more about the AEC Group for sure. You guys have some great services, and you guys are one of Pittsburgh's top firms for sure for a reason. And it's been great talking to you guys.
Good talking to you as well. Stay safe.
You too.
Thank you, Jonathan. Thanks for the time.